This is Nightline and I am Nurzi Patwanche. The top stories. Prime Minister set to announce short-term economy recovery plan on Friday. Shahruddin Saleh resigns as Deputy Works Minister. And Malaysia's daily new COVID-19 cases back to 3 digits with 277 cases. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin is set to announce a short-term economy recovery plan, ERP, on Friday. It is expected to focus on 3 main goals: empowering the people, propelling businesses and stimulating the economy. The plan to be unveiled Friday is to ensure the road to recovery and growth. Previously, the government allocated 260 billion ringgit under the Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package. In the announcement, the Prime Minister is also expected to disclose a number of initiatives to attract foreign direct investment, FDI, into Malaysia. Also, ease of doing business and, most importantly, to further streamline processes. It is expected that in most of the initiatives, public-private partnership would have a major role in building the country's resilience and sustaining growth. The country, which posted its first trade deficit since October 1997, as exports contracted faster than imports, is clearly in a challenging situation, with the COVID-19 pandemic hitting the economy badly. According to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the global economy would contract by as much as 3.3% this year. Bank Negara had forecast the Malaysian economy to either shrink by up to 2% or grow marginally by 0.5% this year, while some economists predict it could contract by as much as 4%. The announcement will be aired live on TV3 at 3 p.m. It is expected that most of the initiatives would have a major role in building the country's resilience and sustaining growth. The SME Association of Malaysia is urging the government to grant 50 billion ringgit worth of soft loans at a special interest rate to help ease the cash flow of up to 200,000 small and medium enterprises, SMEs, and help them to stay afloat during these challenging times. The association's president, Datuk Michael Kang Hua Kiong, said in times of crisis, it was vital for the government to provide support for SMEs to sustain their operations, as it also helps to safeguard jobs and the economy.
I wish the government can seriously look into help the SME on the cash flow, especially I think during pandemic a lot of SME shortage of income, which is more than 60% of SME are zero income, even 20%, so 30% of the SME is only 30% income. So after 79 days, I think most of the SME have zero cash flow now. So we hope the government can budget additional 50 to 100 billion to give the soft loan to SME. I think it is very important to push up the SME sales, which is they're able to continue their business.
Datuk Kang also called upon the government to help these enterprises secure rental rebates or reductions from their landlords. He hoped the government will increase the matching grants for SMEs to adopt digitalization to between 10,000 ringgit and 15,000 ringgit per company from up to 5,000 ringgit announced earlier, and widen the numbers of the beneficiaries to 300,000 SMEs from just 100,000 SMEs previously. Datuk Shahruddin Saleh has resigned as the Deputy Works Minister effectively on Thursday. In a letter of resignation which was tagged to his Facebook, he said that he has formed a political ijtihad or independent reasoning that it was not a right move to join the Perikatan Nasional Government under Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. He said that he should have placed priority by considering his voters in the Sri Gading parliamentary constituency who chose Pakatan Harapan in the 14th general election election. He also said that he reached the decision after a careful consideration and that he wished to undo his mistake of leaving PH. On his Facebook page, photos of Datuk Dr. Shahruddin meeting with former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad were also posted. The Sri Gading MP also stated that he resigned as Deputy Works Minister but remains as a Perikatan Backbencher MP. Former Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia, Bersatu Secretary General Datuk Marzuki Yahya, who maintains that he is still the Secretary General, has been sacked as the Pulau Pinang Bersatu Chief. Prime Minister and Bersatu President Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin issued a letter sacking Datuk Marzuki on Tuesday, stating that the latter will cease from holding the post of Chief of Pulau Pinang Bersatu immediately. The Bersatu President thanked Datuk Marzuki for his service throughout his tenure in the post. Tan Sri Muhyiddin also signed another 2 letters to axe another Supreme Council member, Akram Shah Muammar Ubaidah Sanusi, and Kedah Deputy Bersatu Chairman Anwar Abdul Hamid. Malaysia on Thursday reported its highest number of new COVID-19 cases with 277 new infections, bringing the national tally to 8,247. However, 271 of the total new infections involved foreigners, of which 270 were detected at the Bukit Jalil Immigration Detention Centre.
270 kes di kalangan bukan warga negara adalah daripada depo tahanan Immigration Bukit Jalil, di mana ini merupakan sampel ulangan bagi orang kena tahan yang dikuarantinkan di depo tahanan ini. Mereka telah terdedah kepada kes positif sebelum ni. Manakala satu kes bukan warga negara adalah dari saringan dari tapak pembinaan Pudu.
The Health Ministry also recorded 28 more recoveries, increasing the number of recovered and discharged patients to 79.5%. 6 COVID-19 patients are currently in the intensive care unit ICU, with 2 needing breathing assistance. No fatalities from the virus were reported on Wednesday, keeping the death toll at 115. The COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused major disruptions to the global supply chain, has dragged Malaysia to record a trade deficit of 3.5 billion ringgit in April, after 269 consecutive months of surplus. The last trade deficit recorded by the country was during the Asian financial crisis in October 1997. International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Azmin Ali said the decline in both exports and imports were expected, given that most countries were under some form of lockdown to contain the spread of COVID-19. His ministry, in a statement, said that during the reviewed month, exports contracted by 23.8% to 64.92 billion ringgit, while imports decreased by 8% to 68.42 billion ringgit. Total trade in April 2020 amounted to 133.34 billion ringgit, a 16.4% drop compared with April 2019 due to COVID-19, with lower trade recorded particularly with Singapore, the United States, Japan and Saudi Arabia. Malaysia's exports are expected to improve in the coming months as the government allowed more industries to resume operations. Guidelines for the opening of schools were issued on Thursday, with only Forms 5 and 6 students allowed to attend classroom sessions. For others, online learning from home will continue until further notice from the Education Ministry. The 34-page guidelines were first distributed to schools and posted on the ministry's website. It was produced in great detail comprehensively with the Health Ministry and the National Security Council. The schooling session is only for Form 5 students sitting for the Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM and Sijil Vocational Malaysia SVM examinations, and Form 6 students sitting for the Sijil Tinggi Pelajaran Malaysia STPM and the Sijil Tinggi Agama Islam Malaysia STAM. The guidelines also cover the SOP which schools should adhere to, including the 1 meter social distancing in classrooms, canteens and school co-ops. Also, the use of sanitizers, besides providing areas for washing hands with soap. Body temperatures will have to be recorded for everyone entering the school premises. All school staff will return to their work premises once school reopens. However, online meetings are recommended for more than 10 participants. Meanwhile, Education Minister Dr. Muhammad Razzi Majidin was quoted as saying that every school should also have a separate room for students who showed any symptoms before management informed them and parents for further action. Schools must also make sure that students who walk or cycle to school rest for a while before their body temperature is checked to ensure their reading is normal. Unregistered daycare centres should make themselves legal by registering before operating, urged Senior Minister for Security Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob. He said that illegal daycare centres could not be monitored during the Conditional Movement Control Order or CMCO as they had no records with the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry.
Kita boleh anggap mereka sebagai illegal, tidak didaftarkan. Mungkin di dalam satu taman tu dia jaga 3-4 orang anak yang hantar sendiri-sendirilah hantar, dan kita bimbang taskar seperti ini kerana penjaga anak-anak tersebut tidak mendapat sebarang latihan pun.
Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri appealed to such operators to register with the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry so that they can get training and any aid allocated for registered centres. He said that the standard operating procedures set by the government in allowing registered daycare centres to operate were strict to ensure full compliance and maximum safety of everyone involved. At the same media conference, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri revealed that police have recorded some 572 cases of fraudulent face mask sales since the start of the Movement Control Order on March 18th. He also said that the police nationwide have received reports of face mask scams amounting to 5.5 million ringgit in losses.
Elakkanlah perurusan di laman web yang mencurigakan dan semak ulasan serta komen daripada pembeli lain. Dan jangan sekali-kali terpedaya dengan tawaran murah. Jadi kalau nak ikutkan, face mask sudah boleh didapati dengan mudah di merata-rata termasuk kedai-kedai farmasi dan sebagainya.
Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri, who is also Defence Minister, said the scams were mostly run on Facebook and WhatsApp social media platforms. Selangor alone recorded 122 cases, followed by Johor and Pulau Pinang with 68 each. The proposed amendments to the Land Transport Act seeking heavier punishments for drunk drivers would also cover dangerous driving. According to Transport Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Wika Siong, this would include illegal racing such as mat rempit and basikal lajak. He said the proposed amendments to the Land Transport Act 1987 would punish any form of reckless or dangerous driving. The Transport Minister said this was an issue about personal safety and any final amendments to the Act are to impose more severe punishments against dangerous drivers. He added that heavier punishments against the perpetrators would prevent unnecessary deaths from accidents, noting that there has been an increase in the number of accidents involving intoxicated drivers as of late. Police said they had arrested 822 motorists for drink driving over the first 5 months of this year. Drunk drivers had also caused 22 accidents during the same period. They intend to increase operations against drunk drivers nationwide. Media Prima Berhad is set to undertake the next phase of its business transformation. The company said it has to expedite the transformation exercise amidst disruptive changes in the media sector and challenging macroeconomic conditions, which are exacerbated by unknown variables surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement on Thursday, Media Prima said the transformation exercise would include revising revenue models and corresponding cost management. The initiatives will involve operational changes at selected units to address cost inefficiencies arising from unnecessary work duplication. The business transformation is aimed to land the group on a robust and sustainable business model for the medium and long term. Media Prima added that where manpower rationalization has to be undertaken, the group, as a responsible corporate entity, will ensure that affected employees will receive a fair and equitable compensation package governed by the law and respective unions' collective agreements, which will be paid upon the fulfillment of all legal requirements. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and the Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Hajah Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandariah on Thursday paid tribute to TV3 in conjunction with the station's 36th anniversary. To celebrate the occasion, the royal couple presented a cake, especially made from the palace kitchen, for staff of the newsroom. The handing over of the cake took place at Sri Pentas in the afternoon. Istana Negara's Corporate Communications Chief, Musli Muhammad Zain, and the Palace's Media Liaison Officer, Muhammad Husni Yusof, handed over the cake to News and Current Affairs Managing Editor for Television Networks, Muhammad Firdaus Abdullah. Media Prima Berhad Group Chairman, Datuk Syed Hussein Al-Junid, thanked the King and Queen for the meaningful gift to all employees at Media Prima, especially the workforce at TV3. TV3 staff also expressed their gratitude for the cake from the palace. It was on Monday, June the 1st, that TV3 celebrated its 36th anniversary. We're taking a short break. When we return, keeping tabs on Waistlines during movement control order. Stay with us. Welcome back. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah presented the instrument of appointment to Tun Muhammad Ali Muhammad Rustam as the 7th Yang di-Pertuan Negeri of Malacca in a ceremony at Istana Negara in Kuala Lumpur on Thursday. Tun Muhammad Ali's appointment took effect Thursday for a term of 4 years. He replaces Tun Muhammad Khalil Yaakob, whose tenure ended on Thursday. After the presentation of the instrument of appointment, Al-Sultan Abdullah also conferred the Darjah Kebesaran Sri Maharaja Mangkunegara Award to Tun Muhammad Ali. The ceremony was also attended by Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin and his wife, Puan Sri Nur Aini Abdul Rahman. Also present were Chief Secretary to the Government, Datuk Sri Muhammad Zuki Ali, Malacca Chief Minister, Datuk Sulaiman Mat Ali, and State Assembly Speaker, Datuk Sri Abdul Rauf Yusof. 70-year-old Tun Muhammad Ali from Bukit Katil was Malacca Chief Minister from 1999 to 2013. Malaysia enters its third month of the Movement Control Order MCO with conditional easing of restrictions from May 4th. Since then, what's common between all the spots people have been frequenting for the past several weeks? Speaking about sitting, lounging, sleeping or lying down, stay-home orders have confined the people to the four walls of their homes. Sinking into a sedentary lifestyle is something everyone wants to avoid. It can increase the risk of multiple health conditions. In France, for example, the nation has piled on the pounds during the COVID-19 movement restriction. 57% of French people got fatter since confinement began on March 17, gaining an average 2.5 kilograms each. In the UK, half of Britons have piled on the pounds during the COVID-19 restriction. The worrying finding comes after it was revealed that severely overweight people are more likely to die from COVID-19. In Malaysia, the Health Ministry said 1 in 4 adults aged 16 and above are not physically active, and about 50% of adults are overweight. Various international agencies, including the World Health Organization (WHO), named Malaysia as the fattest country in Southeast Asia. Malaysia also came in second in the ASEAN region for having the highest obesity rate among children, with 7.1% of children under the age of 5 being overweight. And on Thursday, it was revealed that new research by US universities found that living under movement restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic could be increasing obesity levels among children. The study disclosed that children ate an extra meal each day, slept for an extra half hour daily, spent nearly 5 hours more in front of a screen each day, and decreased their physical activity by more than 2 hours per week compared to the data recorded a year ago. Now, here's an item not only for children, but for adults too.
We have with us here today Dr. Rohaya Ramli, a general practitioner, to share her thoughts together with Nightline. Okay, Doctor, thank you so much, first of all, for joining us here on Nightline today. And the first question we want to ask you is about, well, we know how a sedentary lifestyle can actually cause certain health problems. So how do you propose people take care of their waistlines, especially now during the MCO period?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. A lot of my patients come and tell me that during this MCO, they tend to put on weight. But, well, what you need to do, I give you in a nutshell, since you have a lot of time, plan your meals. Okay, plan your meals, write the shopping list, and when you go to the supermarket or you order online, don't deviate from the list. That's number one. Number two, cook your own meals because you are at home. Yeah? So when you cook your own meal, you know what you put in, what is in the food. And you can opt for a healthier way of cooking. Try your best to avoid highly processed food. All our food are processed actually, but highly processed food have a lot of chemicals in them and you don't want that, and very high in fat and sugar. Okay, number two, avoid sugar. Okay, sugar is the culprit. Okay, makes you put on weight. So train yourself to have your coffee or tea black. Otherwise, just drink plain water. Okay, number three, portion size. Okay, now if you remember, there is this thing we call the healthy plate. You divide it by 4, so quarter is your protein, so you opt for either eggs, lean meat, chicken or fish. Another quarter is for your carbohydrates. Go for wholemeal bread or brown rice or basmati rice because they are healthier, they are lower glycemic index. And half of the plate should be all kinds of vegetables and fruit. The next one is, of course, exercise. Okay, talking about exercise, you must aim for at least 150 minutes to 180 minutes of exercise a week. Okay, now you need to combine both cardio training as well as weight training to be effective. Okay, cardio training is any form of activity that increases your heart rate. Okay, it increases the strength of your heart and your lungs. So it can be anything. You know, you can go for walks now. So you can go for a walk, you can jog, you can swim. Well, you can't swim now, but you can go on a bike. Okay, or you can just put on your YouTube. There's just so many things there. You know, you can just follow along all the exercises there, even Zumba. Coming to strength training, a lot of people think that they have to go to the gym and use the machines, but that's not really right. You can even use your own body weight for strength training. Okay, for example, you just do squats, yeah, 10 squats, 10 push-ups, or half push-ups, you cannot do a full one, 10 sit-ups, 30-second plank, and you repeat that three sets.
Very well. Okay, so another thing we want to ask is, we know that extended periods of sitting down over time can actually cause some health diseases such as heart disease, muscle problems, and even some cancers. So what are your thoughts, Doctor, on how people are being more and more dependent on their electronic devices like their smartphones?
That is the new normal, isn't it? You cannot run away from all these things. I mean, you're so dependent on your smartphone and your laptops and the internet. But we are very fortunate to live in this era because there's just so many advantages. You can learn a lot of things online, you can get news online. Just at your fingertips, you can do a lot of things. You can order your food, you can do your banking, etc. When people spend too long a time on the screen, they can get problems like eye strain and headaches going from head to toe. They can get neck pain, shoulder. Most common that I see in my clinic is carpal tunnel syndrome, where the hands are painful and numb and stiff sometimes. We have to discipline ourselves. We have to limit the screen time, especially for our children, you know. Okay, now as adults, For example, if you're having a meeting or you're working on your own, you need to take breaks and do stretches, exercises that you can do while sitting down, and then continue with the meeting.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Rohaya, for joining us here today. We really appreciate your views. And that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Now,
still to come on Nightline. Coronavirus pandemic started as an accident, says former intelligence chief. The details next. To the foreign front, autopsy reports revealed that George Floyd, whose fatal encounter with Minneapolis police stirred a global outcry over racial bias by U.S. law enforcement, tested positive for coronavirus. However, the infection was not listed as a factor of his death. The official cause of death was cardiopulmonary arrest, while Floyd was being restrained by police, taking him into custody on May 25th. The full 20-page autopsy report was made public by the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office. The coroner ruled the manner of death to be a homicide. On Wednesday, the former Minneapolis policeman, Derek Chauvin, who pressed his knee into Floyd's neck, was charged with a new and more serious count of second-degree murder, and the 3 other policemen on scene during his killing were charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder. A former head of MI6 has said he believes the coronavirus pandemic started as an accident when the virus escaped from a laboratory in China. In an interview with The Telegraph, Sir Richard Dearlove said he had seen an important new scientific report suggesting the virus did not emerge naturally but was man-made by Chinese scientists. Dearlove suggested that the Chinese scientists may have been conducting secret gene splicing experiments on bat coronaviruses when COVID-19 somehow escaped through a lapse in biosecurity. International scientists initially believed that the virus emerged in animals, most likely bats or pangolins, before jumping to the human population. The former MI6 chief said a scientific paper published this week by a Norwegian-British research team, however, suggests key elements of COVID-19's genetic sequences were inserted and may not have evolved naturally, and warns that current efforts to develop a vaccine is doomed because the virus has been misunderstood. He claimed the report could force China to pay reparations to the rest of the world for the death toll and economic hardship brought by the virus. Singapore preliminarily confirmed an additional 517 cases of COVID-19 infection on Thursday, bringing the tally to 36,922. The Republic's Health Ministry said the data showed that most cases still involved migrant workers residing in dormitories. Out of the total number, 15 cases in the community, of whom 2 are Singaporeans or permanent residents and 13 work pass holders. So far, 24 have died from COVID-19 complications in the Republic. Over in neighbouring Indonesia, the capital's COVID-19 curbs will be lifted in stages, beginning with the reopening of places of worship and outdoor sports facilities on Friday. This as the government extended the large-scale social restrictions for the 3rd time since its first implementation on April 10th. While Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan did not specify a time frame for this latest round of extension, he said June would be the first transition period for businesses and facilities to open again with strict health protocols in place. Indonesia reported 585 new coronavirus infections on Thursday, taking the number of confirmed cases in the Southeast Asian country to 28,818. And now let's take a look at the highlights in Malaysia's main newspapers for Friday, June the 5th. The New Straits Times focuses on the multi-billion ringgit economic recovery plan that will be announced by the Prime Minister on Friday. Best-selling Malay newspaper Harian Metro features a 24-year-old bachelor's degree holder collecting waste products to earn a living after losing her job due to COVID-19. While Berita Harian highlights the standard operating procedures for schools reopening. Finally, the Malaysian Reserve headlines Malaysia's depressing trade performance in April. Do get your copies today or subscribe to the e-paper. June 4th marks the 31st anniversary of Tiananmen Square protests, the incident in Beijing, China, where hundreds, by some estimates more than 1,000, died when the Communist Party sent tanks to crash a student-led demonstration calling for democratic reforms back in 1989. Visuals of the somber memorial to mark the anniversary wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Nurzi Patwansyed. Thank you for watching.